Student of the Game is brought to you by Noll Team Real Estate. Our mission is to eradicate mediocre real estate transactions. On your largest financial purchase, you shouldn't have to deal with average. We do this by helping you save time, reduce your stress, and helping you keep as much money in your pocket as we can. You can help us out by introducing us to your friends or family who want to make confident real estate decisions, whether buying, selling, building, or investing. At Noll Team Real Estate, we are connected to a group of realtors who sell 1 in every 8 homes in North America. If you know someone moving out of your area, there's a great chance we can connect them to somebody we know, like, and trust. Remember, relationships win. Welcome back to another episode of Student of the Game. I'm with my new friend, Christine Lyons with Habitat for Humanity. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first, I got to tell you that you gave us an amazing tour. Like, if you ever wanted to be a realtor, you'd be great, because the tour you gave us of your new facilities, I mean, that's what we do every single day in real estate, is give people tour properties. You're coming to us from Habitat for Humanity, and we have a bunch of leaders, a bunch of small business owners, nonprofits that listen to this podcast. And my team, we just thought it would be great to have you on here, talk about what Habitat's doing right now in this community, and then tell your story a little bit. So why don't you give listeners a little update of who Christine Lyons is and what are you doing with Habitat right now?
Well, my name's Christine Lyons. I'm the manager of Philanthropic Partnerships at Habitat for Humanity of Greater Fort Wayne. I have been involved with business development for over 20 years. I love real estate actually too. So it's kind of fitting with construction real estate in my background, because I worked for a restoration company and we did rebuilds and stuff. And I have family that's in the real estate world, so I always hear and overhear of things going on locally. And then, finding land and property has been another thing that we've had going.
One of the things when we did a tour with you guys is we just saw how passionate you were about growing Fort Wayne. And obviously, for us having a real estate company, housing is really important to us. So what are some of the things you guys are doing with housing, at Habitat right now?
So right now we are currently building, it looks like we're going to be doing about 30 homes this year. So
wow.
Yes. I know 4 in Huntington. We are still in the process of looking for land in Wells County, and then the remainder of those homes will be in Allen County. But we've been focusing on the southeast side in Fort Wayne, Renaissance Point. So we have been there for like the last 4 or 5 years, building and kind of revitalizing that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's all said and done, I think that it'll have invested about $12 million into it. But it's amazing. It's amazing.
For people who aren't maybe as familiar with Habitat, could you talk about how it works a little bit? Like,
sure.
I know when you were giving us a tour, you shared with us, like, it's not free housing. Like,
right.
These aren't just handouts,
right.
And people have to work for this. But it's a really interesting connection between the donors and then the homeowners,
right.
and then the work that you do. So maybe at like a grassroots level, for somebody who doesn't know
Sure.
how Habitat for Humanity works, could you explain that?
Yes. So our families purchase their home. It's a 30-year mortgage at 3%. We work with local banks here that help support that. Our families do sweat equity hours. So sweat equity means they actually volunteer time on the job site as well as at the Restore here in Fort Wayne, which is a part of Habitat. And then also they spend some time at other local nonprofits supporting them. And then also that sweat equity hours includes financial literacy classes. So learning what a mortgage is, your title insurance, how escrow works, taxes work, how to be a good neighbor, maintenance on a home. I think a lot of times a lot of them are generational renters. So having that part of them learning, like, okay, I need to change out my air filters and, make sure the carpets are cleaned, and air ducts sometimes need cleaned. And there's all different things that, you can do, but it's just teaching them some of the things that, I think as you living in a home, you kind of learn along the way when you grow up. And so generational renting, they haven't had that opportunity to learn those things. But with the sweat equity, that's another big thing is, putting their sweat equity in on the job sites. And so they're building their home and along with their neighbors' homes. They have to have so many hours on their exact location of where their house is.
Sure.
But yeah, so it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see what they can achieve during that process. Because, a lot of times these are single parents. I would say 85 to 90% are single parents. And so they're working, going to school, they have kiddos. And so it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's so rewarding for them. And it's so rewarding for us to watch them achieve that.
So you talked about, I think, the consumer-facing part of Habitat. What happens to the homeowner. The change in mindset from being a renter to a homeowner. And I love that. I think a lot of big changes in our lives have to take place. Once our mindset, gets changed. But you also have another side of this, which is development. Which in most spaces, development means raising money. So before we talk about raising the money and what you do every single day, before we hit record, you said that you had been involved with Habitat even in high school.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Like, how long have you been involved with Habitat and what capacity?
So Habitat, they've been around over, I think we are celebrating our 40th year, and Habitat for Humanity International is celebrating their 50th year. So they've been around for a while. It was a little bit different then than it is now. I think, there were trips down south that they would take, and you take groups of kids. And, the first house was built here, I believe, in 1986. Actually, we just saw and interviewed that homeowner. She's still in her home, which is really neat to get to listen to and hear her story and how it's changed her life all these years. So, but when I was in high school, I went to a parochial school, and so we had service hours and stuff. So you get to learn that. And then, so it was like a mustard seed that was planted. And so once that mustard seed, you kind of always remember it. But that kind of started my appreciation for volunteering. It brings a joy that I can't explain when you help other people. So that kind of stuck with me. And so it just grew and grew all these years. Other things that I was involved with United Way and other JA and some other things. So yeah.
So several years ago in 2024, you came back to Habitat.
Yes.
What do you think it was about Habitat that just kept pulling you back? Like, you started as a young age, you saw it, you know what they're doing here in our community. What really brought you back? Like, what's the passion behind it for you?
Well, I was also a single mom at the time, and I had seen, by all means, I had a house and I had been living in it for quite some time. But I was able to relate and hear stories of moms, especially talk about like the struggles and hardships and what they want for their children. And every mother or father wants, a safe place to call home and not have to worry about if they're going to be switching school districts or if they're going to have a change in their address again. And it's hard for them to make friends. And so having that foundation, hearing them tell their stories, and every family has a story. Every family has a hardship, and you just think, when you think one is like gonna, be the last one that you could handle to hear, there's another one. And so I think, that part of it, just like, oh my gosh, I want to see if I can be a bigger help and make a bigger impact. And impact is really where it's at. That was what it was for me.
That's awesome. I love you talk about impact, because as we talk about student of the game, it's all about leadership. It's all about lessons from other people. It's all about learning from other people in our community. And we wanted to have you on here so that you could talk about Habitat for Humanity and really get the word out and get the message out. But I also think people want to know, as a leader, somebody in development, somebody that is, shaking hands and kissing babies all day and doing lunches and coffees and networking events, and your schedule's probably packed full of getting the message out, but also, needing to raise some money. So
sure.
In this podcast, we have a framework, and it's mastering the fundamentals. And in every business, there's fundamentals, whether you're, in the auto detailing space, whether you're selling merch, whether you're selling homes, whether you're fundraising at a nonprofit, there's always fundamentals. One of my favorite lines that I've heard from my mentor was, strategies and tactics will change, but fundamentals never will. Mm-hmm. And growing up in sports, I got kids that play sports, and in basketball, it's, dribble, pass, and shoot. In golf, I don't know what it is, because I'm not a great golfer, even though I like to play it. But when it comes to fundraising, and I know some people call fundraising, some people call it development. But when it comes to your role in development, raising money, meeting with donors, what's fundamental about that? Like what's something you have to do every single day?
Well, you have to be consistent and you have to communicate and do what you say you're going to do. You want your donors, your partners, you want them to have a volunteer experience to see what it is that we talk about. Because I feel like it starts with a volunteer opportunity. And once you get on the job site for a day, you're working alongside one of the homeowners, the future homeowners that are there on the job sites. You kind of, you have to kind of get in and ask some questions. But when you hear them open up and talk about like, this is a dream, I never thought I could achieve being a homeowner. But you start that circle of volunteering and then just getting involved if it's an event or, we have a lot of dedications. We love to invite our volunteers back to a home dedication to see that key passed on to that homeowner. Same thing with our partnerships. We have gift in kind partners, donate roofing and windows and, flooring. So having them, have that experience of that joy, giving that back to somebody and you can see visually that impact, it's heartwarming. So I think that's the cool part.
It's so good. That's so good. I love that you say communication and consistency because I think a lot of new people miss out on that. I talked to a couple guys recently. One's a newer insurance agent, and I wanted to just breathe some life into him and just say, just stay the course. I remember what it was like when I started. Matter of fact, I remember what it was like last quarter when it was not as great as this quarter. Right? We all have ups and downs, and I think what happens is if we're looking to meet somebody to get a donation, we become very transactional.
Right.
If we look to meet somebody to get a donation, you're transactional. If you look to meet somebody to make a sale, every time I step out of my house and I go meet somebody for coffee and I expect them to buy a home, I'm extremely transactional. Nobody wants to talk to me because they see it coming. And so I love how you say community, consistency. I think connections is one for us.
Oh, absolutely.
It's connecting. And so talk a little bit more about the consistency side, because I think everybody wants the result.
Right.
My mentor says everybody wants to go to heaven. No one wants to die to get there.
Right.
And so talk about a little bit more of that consistency. What does consistency look like for you?
Well, I mean, for me, my week day in and day out is talking to people and it's educating. And so sometimes it's very repetitive for me to have to say, okay, this is what we do. This is our why. But that's the biggest part is the consistency and telling our story and, where the need is too. Yeah. It's not just in Southeast Fort Wayne. I mean, we're in Huntington County and Wells County, and we're still looking for land. So you have to be consistent in follow-ups and talking to donors. Relationships are where it's at for me. I mean, it's just connecting with people. And I think that's probably one of the favorite things in my job, but when you can see that your connection has sparked joy in them, and Habitat may not be the nonprofit that they, would have something. It may be something for a university or for something in the medical realm. But, when you can see that you can do something to help. I mean, I think you had Erica Hyatt, she's with Breasty Boxes. I mean, breast cancer, huge in our area. So, having someone to help and just help make that impact. So it's me wanting to always share that with people and, just tell them of all the good things that we're doing. And, it's easy to just join in and help.
Yeah, it is. And one of our core values at Noll Team Real Estate is to serve others. And I think, I hear this, a lot amongst our team is we really we haven't defined serve others, right? We haven't defined serve others like serve only our clients, serve only the people that are paying us money, serve only the people that can benefit us. No, serve others does not have an asterisk that comes with it. Right. It's our highest calling. And I hear your passion through your communications for Habitat. And it was funny. It wasn't funny. It was obvious. We left there and, my staff was like, you got to get her on the podcast. She loves Habitat. We got to tell the story, but it's like, showing up on this podcast, you don't know what result's going to happen from it, but it's be consistent, right? Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen from writing a personal note to somebody who's celebrating the 3rd or 4th year they've been in their home where we're not getting anything from it other than the sheer satisfaction of, I want you to be a confident homeowner. Right. And I'm so glad we were a part in your story. Yeah. Right. And so that's what mastering the fundamentals is all about. let's move a little bit into falling in love with practice, because I don't know if everybody would sign up for asking for money every single day. What are the things that you do that you absolutely love that maybe not everybody would sign up for?
Well, I mean, you are out there forward facing. So your social battery, sometimes I think people are like, socially, I could not, be at events or be, at, a lot of the things that we attend. But it's so important. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet. And then in those relationships, you never know who's going to introduce you, or, someone's listening, like eyes are watching and people are listening to what you say. So I think that's another thing. It's like, you just never know who you'll meet and your opportunities with that. So do you call yourself an introvert or extrovert? Because I think some people kind of get this wrong a little bit, where it's like, I like talking to people, I don't like talking to people. I kind of believe whether you're an introvert or extrovert, it's where you get your energy from. Mm-hmm. I think everybody can be a little bit of both. Right.
I mean,
and I would have to agree. I
right?
am both. And I didn't think I was. I thought I was very much an extrovert. But this job it's taught me to slow down too. And things take time. It may not be the right time. Financially, I know the world's in a different space right now. People are holding a little bit closer to, funds, and maybe not letting funds go, or are able to. And so there still are things people can do to help support us.
I agree with that. And I do have a question, but I want to go back to what you just said, because I think it's important to understand where we're at in the world, right? Like if donors are struggling because of payroll or inflation, well, guess what? So is that single mom who's trying to put food on their table, who needs a home.
Yes.
Right. So we're all like, we all win together and we all lose together. So at the end of the day, I think it's really important to challenge somebody. Like, if you are somebody that, housing is important to you, and that's something that is on your heart, I think it's something that you need to, take action, go do something, go serve. And so I just want to put a pin in that and just say, I understand if it's hard for one person, it's hard for a lot of people. Yeah. But also talk about the difference between somebody asking for money and then maybe inviting them into the mission. Because I heard what you said early on. You said, I want to get people to volunteer. I want to get people part of the program. Not everybody can give right away, but talk about the difference between bringing people kind of into your ecosystem when obviously you need money from them, but what's the difference between asking for money and asking them to be a part of your mission?
Well, it doesn't happen like that. So, it's and I'll use myself as the example. I'm probably not the best example, but it was kind of like I said, that mustard seed. And so once I got to Habitat, for me to be able to do what I do, I'm a monthly donor. So, but it was like
you're walking the walk.
Yeah, you have to. If I'm going to be a part of this mission, I need to say there's a lot of things that I support, and this job goes so much deeper. I wish we had a 2-hour time segment so I could go on.
Well, tell me a little bit about affordable housing real quick, and I don't want to interrupt you. We can come back to this, but affordable housing is one of the biggest conversations in America right now when it's talking about people buying and home prices being up. How are you guys solving that problem, here in Fort Wayne to provide affordable housing?
So
for
if
people?
you think of, I'm going based on numbers that I have, and I don't even know, but what's the average rent? Let me just ask you, what's the average rent, do you think, here in Fort Wayne?
We have a lot of investors right now that are probably getting about $17.95 a month for, I would say, a nice 1-story, 3-bed, 2-bath. Plenty of homes that we've helped people rent over $2,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And I would say I don't even know of a house I don't even know a house that is rented for less than $1,200-$1,300 right now.
So it's about $1,450 is what we kind of go off of for our families that they're used to paying. And so that leaves very little for them. And so putting them into a 3 or 4 bedroom home, their mortgage, and it's going to have instant equity, but is like $750. So if you go from that $1,400 to $750, that's a big difference. So, and it's theirs. It's brand new, and it's we try to set them up for success, and that is the biggest thing, is sustainability. And teaching them, how to budget, and teaching them, all the things that go into, becoming a homeowner. Those financial literacy courses come back into play, and So that is our thing, is, keeping them successful at becoming a homeowner.
I love the answer. I didn't have this as one of my questions, but how do you apply to be a homeowner?
So we actually, everything is on our website, but for Allen County, that process opens up in the beginning of January for 2 weeks. So usually it's the first 2 full weeks of January, that process, like the application process, starts. I think for Wells County, that's kind of ongoing for us, just because we are still we're still in the process of looking for land in Huntington. I think they had just closed theirs because they had a lot of applicants. So yeah, so
awesome.
it opens up once a year. So right now, like I said, Huntington just closed, but usually looking out to January for Allen County, that's when it opens up for 2 weeks.
Talk about the other side of it now, the volunteers. So you have a lot of volunteers. It's a big part of your workforce, people coming in and swinging a hammer maybe. What are some of the best qualities that you find to lead volunteers? Because I would guess leading volunteers is kind of like herding cats. It's almost like owning a real estate company.
Yes.
Like people show up whenever they want, and I don't feel like volunteering today. Or I got better plans, or I want to volunteer today. Well, sorry, we don't have anything for you.
Well,
what's it like leading a group of volunteers?
So you don't have to have any experience whatsoever. Our volunteer crew leads are amazing, as well as our construction site managers, and they actually prefer it that way if people don't have the experience, because they teach it the way that we need to have it done. And we make sure, our guys are very rigid at making sure that we do things correctly, especially if it's like, if that stud's not supposed to be there, or if nails aren't in just a certain way, we redo it. And so I love how they are so intentional on making sure those homes are perfect as they can be for what we do.
Well, and it goes back to one of the fundamentals, which is communication. In order to lead people really well, you have to communicate. Right. And I think communication is a fundamental in anything, in a relationship, in the work setting, in whatever you do. If you struggle to communicate, I really think you struggle to convey a message.
Right.
One of my mentors, tells me that the only, what does he say? He says, communication is an exercise in memorization. If the person doesn't memorize what you just said, you didn't communicate.
Right.
And so I think it's really important that when you're communicating, if somebody can repeat back to you what you just said, now they're starting to memorize the message. Now you have effective communication. And so I find that that's Uncle Donald Miller, that says that. I love what he has to say. But let's go back to your career a little bit. So you talked about communication and consistency. You talked about the things that you love to do. How do you grow in this role, in this role as development and Habitat? How do you continually grow? Do you have some goals for yourself with Habitat? Is this something that, you have X amount of homes that you want to fundraise for? Is there a target in the nonprofit space?
I would have to say my goal, or what I would like to see us achieve as a team, is more counties. So acquiring more counties. So I think we're kind of in the works of some of that. So
awesome.
like I said, it's everywhere. It's not just here in Fort Wayne. There's so many communities that, it's the same thing. And, they were talking, like you mentioned investors earlier into rentals and stuff. And so I think sometimes, they come in and they purchase the lots that even in Renaissance Point, they're not going to do anything with that land. It just sits there. So I wish that we had that opportunity to purchase, but the prices, it's got to be affordable in a way for us to make it work.
Yeah, one foot in front of the other, right? You're probably no different than any other small business. I have visions of what Noll Team Real Estate could be, but at the end of the day, sales solves a lot of those problems. Revenue solves a lot of those problems,
right.
and you kind of have to, crawl, walk, and then run. And I hear you. I love how passionate you are about maybe casting a bigger net out there.
Yes.
and getting more counties. Because guess what? More counties mean more houses.
Yes.
What does more houses mean? More families.
Yes, more
right?
kids. It's
yes.
We have
You love the kids.
I do, and it's kind of I guess kind of going back to what I learned a long time ago. And I have 2 daughters, Grace and Charlotte, and I'm just all I keep telling them is you guys have to have your hand in something. You have to, you need to have that experience of what it's like. And they've been to enough things to see now what we've done and what we're doing. And but I'm telling you, the kids teaching them young. And, kids are good. I know technology and this and that, but kids are so good. They really are. I mean, I think they're better today sometimes in some aspects than we were, 30 years ago. But I mean, it's just it's like I said, it's that mustard seed of, sharing, and it just kind of grows from there. So, and the kids, I mean, I've had a lot of good experiences even with our families and their children, and getting to know the families. And like I said, their stories, I mean, that's what keeps me and drives me, the Vincent and Gentiles and the Miss Carols and Miss Jeans. I mean, I love them all.
Every person has a story.
Yes, they do.
I love that. As we get close to wrapping up, we have several more questions here I want to get into with you about you a little bit more. But if a business owner or a leader was listening today and they did want to get involved with Habitat, what's kind of like the first step, or what would you recommend them to do? Maybe they want to write a check, maybe they want to give monthly, maybe they want to do a build. How would you recommend?
I mean, my biggest thing, it's a discovery meeting. I like to see where people are at, and what is it that inspires them. Sometimes it's just telling our story and talking about the things. I mean, sometimes there's even business owners that I like to share what Habitat, like how potentially their workforce. I mean, they may be able to have an opportunity for applying for the program starting in January. So I always like to have that sit down and talk. I mean, sure, of course, monetarily we would gladly take donations, but I want it to mean something in a way too, where you can know what you're supporting and know what impact you're having to help your community.
Well, I found that our team was energized when we came to your place and did a tour, and it was cool because as a leader, here's what I know. Let me start over. As a parent, here's what I know. Somebody could tell my kids the exact same thing, and they're like, "Dad, can you believe what Mr. So-and-so said?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been saying the same thing for years, right?"
Yes.
And it's like, I could tell my team about Habitat and how great you guys are, but when they see it with their own eyes, and they see it from somebody like yourself and your team who's passionate about it, something just invigorates them. And to get out of the office for a day, to take a field trip, to learn a little bit more. I believe that at Noll Team Real Estate, our job is to know as much as we can about this community, because when we have clients, they're going to want to know, how can I get involved? And now I have an introduction. Now I know somebody, that can point them in the right direction.
Right.
So I think it's important for leaders to make sure that they can bring their teams alongside, people like yourselves, groups like yourselves.
Well, it was, I was so tickled that you guys came in and, got to see, because we have just moved into that space. So we had a new CEO, Melissa McCowan. Shout out to her. She's been amazing. And she kind of saw the vision that we kind of needed a space. And I'll go on to one thing I love about that space is we have a classroom. So our classroom, I talk about, the educational hours, but there's also a side family room. So our families, if, they're single parents, they don't have anywhere to take the kids, there's a little room that is off to the side that they can just, sit there and, color, play games, whatever. And that's another thing. So you guys were able to see that space, it was pretty much newly done and completed. So that was so exciting for me to share that, because, where we're over at the old Falstaff Brewery. So it's a cool building anyway. But we're growing. And so
it's a great building.
Yeah,
it's a great building.
So cool.
When my team set that up and they put the appointment on my calendar, I looked at the address. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They didn't even know. For 2 or 3 years of my real estate career, I worked in that building. And it was awesome. It was beautiful brick building, exposed brick on the inside. It was really cool.
Yes. So, but I'm so grateful to Melissa for seeing that and seeing, the big vision. I think sometimes it's hard to see that, but she's like, no, we need that. And it has been such a blessing. Because the whole team's under one space. We're not in separate hallways, and we all have a space to work from, which makes it incredible, because a lot of us have to work from home or hybrid, from Huntington, Wells County. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I was reading this week, one of my favorite authors, Solomon, says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Mm-hmm. And, to hear you get inspired about your leader, about how your leader, had this vision, my encouragement to you listening right now is, you got to start with the vision. Like, what do you want for your life? What do you want for your business? What do you want for your team? What do you want for your family? And really take time, and you have to pause, right? Like we talked about this a lot. I mean, you said, I love when I get that break, when I have that space to just think and not be on all the time. And in that space, then comes the vision, right? If you're thinking about that. And so, like, what I just heard from you was getting excited about, your leader's vision. And it just reminded me how impactful your vision creates ripple effects for other people.
Yes.
And now your vision, Christine, is like, okay, we need to go to more counties. We need to do this. Guess what? Those ripple effects are going to impact, the people on your team, the families, the communities, the donors, the volunteers.
Yes.
You are impacting more people right now just by having a bigger vision, which is awesome. So kudos to you.
Oh, thanks. And kudos to you for doing this. I think too, to, allow a nonprofit organization come on and, talk about, whether it be hardships or just what we're doing and how to get involved. It's huge for people, because sometimes a lot of people, they want to get involved. They just don't know how.
What would you say? We'll go on this theme for just a little bit, because I think everybody has hardships. I think everybody has challenges. And I think having a comfortable space to, talk about those challenges, I think makes people feel real and authentic. What are some of the challenges that you guys are working through? And maybe not the challenges that are behind closed doors, but maybe some challenges that are public facing, of, like, I know you mentioned land acquisition, donations could be up and down based on the economy,
right.
But what are some challenges that you guys work through on a daily basis?
I think there's a little bit of everything that anyone deals with. I mean, the economy is a big portion of, like, I think, wherever that stands, sometimes that kind of leads on where, whether you're going to not say, but, say someone's not going to be able to do, donate this year, especially our bigger corporations or donors. And we've been pretty fortunate overall. And I feel like it comes back to relationships. People are believing in what we're doing what we say we're going to do. And I think sometimes you got to walk the walk, talk the talk,
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing day in and day out, especially, with the volunteer side of it, and our Restore. I don't even know how familiar people are with the Restore.
Oh, shout that out real quick. I think, talk about the Restore. I've got one more question after this that has to do more with you, but talk about Habitat and the Restore for a second, because that's a huge thing.
Our Restore,
especially in the real estate space. So if we have clients listen to this, listen to this. If you're just listen to this Restore.
So the Restore is like probably our biggest fundraiser. So I always kind of compare it to like a Menards and a Goodwill. It's like a lot of times we have a lot of people that are handyman that come in and like to look for, certain things. They're doing projects around the house. But we get a lot of like local donors that will, like whether it be flooring supplies or, I hate to say it, toilets, sinks, cabinets, but people will like demo a house out and, they'll donate their cabinets. We'll come pick it up. Everything is done online. It's a scheduling type thing, but we'll come pick up furniture. We just have to be able to access it in a garage. That's usually, they don't really want people going in the house, our employees going in homes, but if it's accessible in a garage, they'll come pick up everything. So, and a lot of times we'll get things that we don't necessarily will take, but we'll find the right homes for it. We usually always do. So
what I'm hearing is like a Facebook marketplace where, if you're somebody that wants to get rid of maybe fixtures, cabinets,
pictures, desks,
right?
You name it, chairs. All the things. And, a lot of times you'll have estate sales. We can come after estate sales and just, take some things that, were left behind, or, there's a lot of different ways, but that is, the resource just, you never know what you're going to find. It's like a hidden gem. And so it's a lot of vintage things get donated, and people love the vintage stuff.
If your style is vintage, if your style is, I don't even know what styles are.
You have like mid-century modern. We'll get a lot of those in there.
You get a lot of those. You can come and hand-picked, a lot of that stuff at the Restore. So it's donations by the community, and then it's a shop where you can go in and buy things. Like you said, if Menards and Goodwill had a baby, it'd be the Restore.
That's what it would be, the Restore. And it's right there across from Donniere's Honda next to Nissan on Lima Road.
Awesome. Right off Lima Road, go to the Restore. Every purchase you make supports Habitat and growing in their counties and supporting their mission and vision. So, Christine, back to you. Winning at the game of life. So we talked about the fundamentals. We talked about mastering those. I love what you had to say about communication and consistency. We talked about falling in love with practice and all the things that you do behind the scenes, whether it's, getting up early for coffees and breakfast meetings and staying up late, going to networking events and, being on the job sites, the things that you love about it, and you love the families and the kiddos and making sure that, these families can have affordable housing, which is a huge passion of ours as well. But winning at the game of life, what does winning at the game of life look like for you, either professionally or personally?
Personally, it's my girls. My girls are, they are, it's, you want to be that, you want to guide them in a way where, they're getting ready to take off and spread those wings here in the next couple years, and you want to see them succeed. And my girls they are kind of my jam, and I love them so much.
We are in the similar space because we have one that just launched and left the home and went to college, and we've got another one that thinks that she should leave, and she's old and now has a driver's license and thinks that she has a license to do whatever she wants, and you love them and you're still trying to coach them up, but yet you got to let them skin their knees every once in a while.
And it's not easy. I'm in a relationship where we're blending families, and his kiddos they're incredible kids too. And so you want to see them all succeed, and you want to see them do well. And, one's heading off to Chicago, one's down at IU, and then the rest are still in high school. But it's like, you just want to see them do good. And I don't know, it's your kids. I mean, that's how I think I can relate with our families, because you want what's best for them. So I think for me, like, if I can succeed at doing that, and it's not going to be perfect, no one's perfect, but I try pretty hard.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job, and they're lucky to have you and somebody who's as passionate about your mission and what you guys are doing. I mean, home ownership, it provides young people so many things. Yes. It provides them confidence that renting just does not provide. To the families, the net worth of a homeowner versus a renter is exponentially greater. I mean, there's so many things that you're providing. So winning at the game of life, being a great leader at home to these young kiddos and giving them a good role model, while at the same time allowing a little controlled adversity so they can learn some life lessons on their own, but not too bad.
I have to tell you one little story. So there was a young boy in Huntington County, I think last year's build season, and after he had closed, he's 10. And so one of our development employees had asked, hey, what you excited about? Thinking, he's going to say riding my bike in the neighborhood or my own bedroom. And he said, I'm just excited I have an address.
Wow.
An address. So if that isn't like coming from a 10-year-old, like, just to show you how much and how important and impactful it is for the young ones. And we have some volunteers that are educators that are retired, and they do this because they know how important it is for kids.
Yeah,
so
it's so important.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the work that you do. I know you've brought up the word relationships multiple times, and we have a phrase on this podcast that we say relationships win. In the game of life, relationships win.
Absolutely.
If you do believe, if you're part of the team like us that believes relationships win, you also have to believe that some relationships lose. And, that's our way of saying that, you have to earn the right to have a great relationship with somebody. And so since relationships are so important for us, we want to ask you the one final last question here is, who is somebody you want to give some flowers to? The kids say give them their flowers, and it's accolades and appreciation. So who's somebody who's been an important part in your life, somebody that you want to shout out and say thank you and give them their flowers?
Oh, my mom.
Yeah?
Yeah, my mom is.
Why is that?
She's just my biggest cheerleader. I mean, she's incredible. As I think family's important, and we've all had our fair share of things, but my mom is probably my biggest shout out, thanking her for all that she's done, sacrifice, blood, sweat, and tears, all the things. I think I gave her a couple gray hairs. Actually, no, I did. But yeah. So
what's your mom's name?
Jane,
shout out to Jane. Congratulations. You've raised a great daughter, and I'm sure these granddaughters are amazing as well. So Christine, thank you for being on the podcast today.
you.
Habitat for Humanity is such a great organization in our community. We have a lot of great organizations, but the minute we met you guys and knew that we share similar passions for affordable home ownership, we knew we needed to get you on the podcast and sharing the good news and talking about your message and your vision.
I thank you so much for allowing me to come in and just share our mission, share our stories, visions of all the things. Like I said, I encourage people, if they know what they like, if they don't, something, if it's not Habitat, find something out there to help, give you that joy of like giving back, because it's impactful.
Well, you're doing a great job here in Northeast Indiana. So that's a wrap. I appreciate you being on the show. If you as a listener enjoyed this show, if you want to know more about Habitat, make sure you screenshot this, share it on social media so that we know you like this content. We can make more of it. And then we'll make sure that you have a place you can reach out to Christine if you want to get involved with Habitat. So Christine, thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys. All right, bye.